Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday, about half the work week in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. And we're off and running here on this Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. JD PicKell with us in 15 minutes talking college football from a national perspective. It's What If Wednesday. We'll get to some of that. LSU's defensive players chatted with us yesterday, and revenge was on the mind. It was actually said multiple times. Now, we'll see if they can make that stand up on Saturday night, but there were certainly some interesting things said by Savion Jones and Greg Penn that we'll get to in hour number one. In hour number two, we'll kick it off with my favorite Tiger Stadium memories. I did not realize that I just missed my radar, that there's a big celebration of 100 years of Tiger Stadium specifically for this game. I knew that they were doing a season-long celebration of 100 years in Tiger Stadium. I did not know that this game specifically had a little bit more importance, so we'll get into a little bit of that. At the top of hour two, I'll welcome your favorite memories from Tiger Stadium as well. SEC Power Rankings are an hour and a half from right now. I've got them right here. I don't love them. I don't love them. I've loved them for a month and a half. I don't love them.
Why not?
There are two I already think are wrong, and I just did them an hour ago. So how could I do something and then an hour later be like, well, that's probably not right?
Well, here's the thing, Hunt. They can't be wrong because they're your power rankings. There's no right
But
power
I'm trying
ranking.
to have them perfect. That's the idea.
Okay.
The idea here is that I'm such an expert, such an incredible football mind that I would perfectly rank the SEC teams every single week. That's the plan.
I understand that, but you have to understand that sometimes teams are just going to surprise you, Hunt.
I'm an expert. I shouldn't be surprised.
Okay.
The rankings are terrible. We'll get to them in an hour and a half from right now. When we came off the air yesterday, within 40 minutes or so, news was announced that Derek Carr would likely miss some time. You saw the NFL Network response from Mike Carafolo and from Rappaport, and they said, look, he's got an oblique, and it looks like Derek Carr is going to miss multiple games. There was a caveat in that report that said, look, they play on Sunday, and we don't think he's going to play then. And then they got to turn around and play on Thursday night. So they've got 2 games in a matter of 9 days here. So the inference was he's probably not going to play in either one of those games. And so that brings a whole different conversation to light here. Because if you'll recall, like I said 2 weeks ago, after looking at what the situation was on Atlanta's offensive line and looking at what the situation was with Philadelphia's wide receiving core and looking at the situation that was in Kansas City with their pass catchers, and if you just look at New Orleans' injuries, you would go, well, this is really bad. But then you look at all the teams they play, and that's really bad too. Atlanta's missing 2 of their top offensive linemen, and they beat you. Philly doesn't have Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown or their right tackle Lane Johnson, and they beat you. And Kansas City doesn't have Hollywood Brown and doesn't have Isaiah Pacheco, and then didn't have their next best pass catcher that they wanted to get the football to, and it's basically just the Mahomes and Kelsey show with whoever else they can get to show up, and they beat you. And the Saints haven't responded to injuries, so I was like, I'm not going to talk much about injuries because everybody's got them, and it just sounds like a pitiful excuse. Except, and then I threw a caveat right in the back of it, if Derek Carr gets hurt. Because not that Derek Carr is playing at an all-pro level, not that Derek Carr is playing at a Pro Bowl level, but the drop-off from Derek Carr to your backup quarterbacks is significant. You're going from an 11-year veteran in the National Football League who routinely throws for 3,500 yards, say what you will about them, to a couple of guys that hadn't played squat. You're talking about a 4th-round pick from last year, a 5th-round pick from this year. These are camp arms that have played a bunch of preseason ball. That's a big, big difference from Derek Carr. So you're at a crossroads here as a franchise because I don't know that you can recover from this. if you can't beat Tampa with the backup quarterback, you fall even further behind in the division. And then Denver at home is a game you probably ought to win. Now, I realize all these probablys don't carry a lot of weight because you probably weren't supposed to beat Dallas. Like, it's a week-to-week league. There have been upsets every week. Everyone's survivor pool is just about shot at this point in October. But you lose these two games with the backup quarterback, which is a real possibility. You're looking at a season that's on the brink, and if the season's on the brink, then the head coach is likely on the brink. I mean, there's a lot to unpack here. I think it's reasonable to expect, with Derek Carr in the lineup and some guys returning to health, that you have a good chance to win both of those games on your home field. We know that it's difficult on a short week for Denver to fly in with no practice time, basically, and play on the road on a Thursday. You could have won both of those games realistically. I'm not saying you would have, but you could have. Now, you're probably not. And that's going to make a real interesting decision moving forward, because you had to try to keep your head above water early before things got late and the schedule lightened up. And right now, you're on the precipice of not keeping your head above water. So the question becomes, who do you play? Who's the option? And there are a lot of different schools of thought for me, the analyst, for you, the fan, and the listener. There's multiple schools of thought. But in my estimation, there's only one school of thought in the Saints building. Who gives us a chance to beat Tampa? And that's the right way to go about it. It's not the fun way to go about it, which we will. Ross Jackson wrote a column today saying that Spencer Rattler should get the call. But I think it stands to reason that Jake Haener has got a little bit more trust operating the offense down to down, which is why he was asked to go in there on Monday night. Now, I fully understand that being asked to step into Derek Carr's game plan in Kansas City on the road against Mahomes, trailing, is a far different situation than having the game plan tailored to you over the course of an entire practice week and then going out there on your home field. Those are very different situations. So I would not be shocked if that report from Mike Garafolo was correct and that Spencer Rattler was the lean this week. But I think, to me, I'm going to need to see that to believe it. I'm not ruling it out. Far from it. It's a distinct possibility. Mike Garafolo knows far more people to talk to than I do. I'm just reading tea leaves from the outside. It's a conservative organization that always leans on the side of continuity, and Haener feels like more continuity with Derek Carr than Rattler does. And that's what I think they'll do, but that's with no information. It's just based on that rationale that I'm giving you. As far as Rattler goes, that's the enticing thing for the fans to talk about and for the media to chew on, because the upside is greater. Spencer Rattler was a 5-star recruit, #1 quarterback in the country, played at Oklahoma, then went into the SEC, won some big games in the Southeastern Conference. He's got real talent. And Jake Haener was an unheralded recruit who played at little old Fresno State and all of a sudden showed up in the 4th round and nobody in New Orleans had ever heard of him. And now he's been in the organization for a year and a half and, he looks like a backup. And the fun thing to do, because there's low morale in Saints land right now, is to think, well, what if Rattler played and he was awesome? And then he took over for Carr, and then he was our new quarterback, and we didn't have to deal with Derek Carr anymore. Like, that's what the fans want to say.
It's just it's always so funny that no matter what level or anything regarding that, the backup quarterback is just always the fan favorite. Like, he can't do
never
wrong.
Makes a mistake. He's never made a mistake.
Exactly.
The starters always made mistakes. Yeah. The backup never made mistakes.
Yeah.
And that'll be the case here. Everybody, and the odds that Spencer Rattler comes in and lights it up and becomes the starting quarterback and the Saints make the playoffs and he's the quarterback for the next 8 years, the odds of that are beyond minute. They're not zero, but they're beyond minute. But it's clinging for hope in a fan base that had all the hope 3 weeks ago and has very little of it now, because you feel like you're right back where we were in August, where you don't really like the quarterback and you don't really like the coach, And until those two guys are gone, you feel like you're kind of treading water and going nowhere. And this is the only hope that you had. And I'm okay with fans having hope. That's perfectly fine. And trust me, if Spencer Rattler comes out there and slings it around in the first half against Tampa and you get up to a 17-3 lead, that'll be fun. That will be fun. And he's got the physical tools to go out there and let it rip and throw for some yards. But it's a little bit unlikely. I'm just going to tap the brakes a little bit early. I will completely jump on board with the fact that it's an interesting storyline because hope's involved. But I will also suggest he's probably just a backup quarterback who's not nearly as good as the first guy, and you're probably in some trouble. Like, that's unfortunately the bucket of cold water that I end up tossing on this. It brings me no joy to do that, but I'm not just going to sit up here and completely fabricate my feelings on the situation because that's more fun for everybody involved. I can't. I'm just not going to do it.
I didn't even think about this, but I saw Nick Underhill tweeted, the Saints have now had a quarterback get injured 6 years in a row.
Yeah, I did know that.
The 2018 with Drew Brees.
And Peyton's teams were able to keep it afloat with Taysom and Teddy. And obviously Jameis got hurt, and they threw Dalton in there, and he was what and what. And
Trevor Siemian.
I mean, goodness gracious. As I always say, Ian Book got his go there within the COVID season. I was in Women's Hospital in Baton Rouge with a 20-hour-old baby. It's not good, generally speaking, when the backup goes in there, unless the backup is Joe Flacco or Andy Dalton or Ryan Tannehill or one of those guys who can go out there and make it happen to an extent. There's a ceiling on it, but they may be better than the young pup you're trying to bring along. This is the opposite. You've got the proven commodity that can go out there and function, and now you're just going completely into wild card territory, and we'll see what in fact does happen. The Saints need to find a way to win one of these games, and it just feels like a tall order with a quarterback out there with no experience in the National Football League. But we'll see. Derek Carr's out. What will the Saints do? My guess is we'll probably find out on Sunday. I don't think the Saints are going to announce a starting quarterback until they absolutely have to on game day. So we'll see. Much more on that to come as we talk some Saints here on the Hunt Palmer Show. We'll punch time out, and then we'll come back with JD PicKell of On3 Sports talking college football right here on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30-plus years of redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Safety is a big, big deal in the bathroom. I talk about this a couple times a week with you because it's important. If you've got an aging loved one who may be in a bit of a hazardous situation in the bathroom, let David Duvall and his team come in there and help out with that. They can put handrails near the toilet, shower, tub areas. It could be a little bit hazardous. They can put a walk-in tub for convenience and safety. They can do a bench in the shower to make things a little bit less hazardous there. It could make all the difference. But if you don't make the call and have that consultation, you'll never know. And if you think, well, I'd like to do that, but I don't know if I can pay for that right now. Well, they've got financing options. 0% for 18 months if you qualify. So make the phone call and see. That's not going to hurt you at all. That free consultation can start right out there on the website, OneBathAndClosets.com. You can also see pictures of their fantastic work, see the reviews from their satisfied customers. It's One Bath and Closets. Check them out online, OneBathAndClosets.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has back-to-school savings like $16,000 off 25 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $16,000 off. All new Bayou vehicles come with a complimentary extended warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Join us at Pro Dreams in Mandeville for our special event, A Day of Champions. Meet LSU National Championship winning head coaches Jay Johnson, Skip Bertman, and Paul Maneri. Don't miss your chance to purchase authentic sports memorabilia, autographed by the champions themselves. It's the perfect opportunity to celebrate LSU baseball and take home a piece of history. Visit pro-dreams.com to get your tickets. See you there.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Welcome back to the Hunt Palmer Show. Here's your host, Hunt, the uniform czar, Palmer. Which uniform do you hate now?
Well, if we're talking uniforms, the Padres generally look terrible. Dodgers look fantastic. Obviously, the Yankees look great. I don't mind the Tigers uniforms. Phillies and Mets generally look good.
Why don't you like the Padres?
I don't like the color, and I don't like the dark gray pants.
Yeah, the dark gray pants aren't great.
Everyone's gray should look the same. You don't jazz up the gray. It's gray.
Yeah.
And plus, it's just hard to do a lot with brown and yellow.
Not easy.
I mean, they had great. The navy and orange was great in the Tony Gwynn era.
I like
they jacked it up.
Yeah, I like the brown with the yellow lettering on the jersey. That one's not too bad.
Yeah, as long as you wear white pants.
Yeah, you gotta wear white pants with it.
Yeah. This has been Uniform Talk here on this Wednesday. Always Wednesdays at 1:15. We go out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline, chat with our guy JD PicKell, host of the Hard Count on 3. Subscribe up to On 3's YouTube channel and get your college football content each and every day. And we are deep in the middle of it here. JD, how we doing?
Doing great, man. Doing great. We got a tremendous Saturday slate here. This is one of those Saturday slates where it's kind of one of the, you don't really want to probably bring people in that don't love college football to sit down and watch with you. But if you wanted to get somebody bought in that was on the fence, this is one of those Saturdays. So I'm fired up, man. It's going to be great.
I mean, we said last Saturday was a terrible slate, and look what we got. So I thought
exactly.
It's hard to make that proclamation before you actually see the product on the field. I mean, what do you make of Vanderbilt beating Alabama? Is it a big deal? Is it just a crazy 3 hours? What do we make out of it?
Oh, it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal. It was a crazy 3 hours. I mean, they threw goalposts in the Cumberland River, which is not like a short walk away from where the stadium is out here in Nashville. So it's a massive deal. I don't know that it's necessarily the sky is falling like folks maybe would like us to assume it is from the Alabama side. I think Alabama got beat. I know they got beat. I think Alabama probably didn't take it as seriously as they needed to, clearly. But I also think like Alabama has national championship level chops, and I think we saw that against Georgia. I think we've seen that multiple times throughout the course of this season. When they hit the gas, they're able to roll. Defensively, I think Joel Klatt put it perfectly this week. Like they're going to probably have to compensate for what they don't have defensively with what they have offensively. I think the scheme was way too vanilla. I think they did not come to play against Vanderbilt from a preparation standpoint. I think they thought they could just roll the ball out there and have their guys be better, and it wasn't the case. I'll also say this. I think Vanderbilt's a lot better than some folks would like to lead us to believe. I think the way they've attacked the portal and got 20 transfers and got essentially like Johnny Manziel, Nashville version, and Diego Pavia. I think they're a good little football team.
Alabama 67 points allowed in the last 6 quarters. I get it. Georgia's got some pretty good players, and you were mentioning the issues they had against Vanderbilt, who just kind of ran it all over them. What are the issues that Alabama has on defense?
So Brooks Austin has a full breakdown on his YouTube channel. He did a great job kind of giving the diagnosis. The synopsis there is essentially they tried to play a vanilla style of defense that Vanderbilt said, cool, we have football players too that are on scholarship making NIL dollars. We're going to be just fine and roll with those guys. So essentially a lot of man coverage. They were far too simplistic is the way that it sounded, and then far too sloppy from an execution perspective. So all that's to say, I think they have to mix it up some more. I mean, I can't get out of my mind too the way they had Carson Beck dead to rights the first half against Georgia. Like, that's a quarterback who's the epitome of consistent and cautious with the football. Like, he had never had a game where he threw more than one interception, and he threw 3 against Alabama. So I think it's there. They just think they got to load the clip every single week.
Let's stay in the SEC. Texas A&M 41, Missouri 10. Did you learn more about the Aggies or the Tigers?
I think we learn more about the Aggies. I mean, we've talked about this a little bit, Hunt, throughout the course of this season. I've never really fully been on the Missouri train. I never trusted what they lost. But I think for Texas A&M, I wasn't so sure that Marcel Reed wasn't the better option at quarterback. I went so far as to say if he wasn't playing for them in this game, I wasn't sure about A&M's chances. It doesn't matter who's playing quarterback when you run for 200 yards and hold the opposition to 60 or whatever it was, less than 70. So I think they are the benefit for A&M now is they are not a quarterback dependent roster, and they've got a path here to where if they're able to split LSU and Texas, they're going to be right there in the mix for the college football playoff themselves at 10-2.
No question about that. A team that I think a lot of people thought would be in the college football playoff as of 5 days ago was Tennessee. That offense 2 years ago was an absolute freight train, and I get that you didn't have a great quarterback in Joe Milton last year, but now with Nico under center, not a great offensive effort against Oklahoma and a bad one against Arkansas. What do we make of that?
I think for Tennessee, I'm curious to see how they respond against a very gettable Florida team, because it feels a little bit like Nico's just not cutting it loose, like he's not just letting it rip back there. And it's great to be able to run the football, and Tennessee is built on running the football. I think ultimately they'll be able to run the football well enough to beat Florida, but the Josh Heupel offense is such a setup kind of offense to where they'll throw it in the intermediate game, they'll run the football, they'll make you overcommit, and then once they give you the matchup they want on the perimeter, the quarterback's got to pull the trigger and be able to hit that deep play downfield. So seems like Nico is not yet comfortable pulling the trigger, not an end-all, be-all to where you write off Tennessee the rest of the year. But if they don't get that fixed, they'll get beat again, and it won't just be by a Bama and a Georgia. It'll be somebody else along the way that'll sneak up and get them.
All right, before we get to this coming weekend, a couple teams that would have been way off the radar 3-4 weeks ago. SMU is now 5-1 and 2-0 in the ACC after beating Louisville on the road. Indiana goes to Northwestern and wins, which is not anything too significant, but they're 6-0 and their schedule is relatively lighter. Either of those two significant playoff threats?
I would say Indiana could be more of a playoff threat just because of them coming from the Big Ten. Here's a crazy scenario for you. Let's say Indiana ends up playing in the Big Ten championship in Lucas Oil. You have to imagine every Hoosier alum within, a 100, 200-mile radius makes the trip for that one. So I know Indiana hasn't played anybody just yet, so I'm curious to see how they look going forward here. The schedule isn't too difficult. I think we both talked on that or alluded to that a little bit. I'm not so sure that SMU won't turn back into a pumpkin. I know that they have Rhett Lashley running the show out there, and they're going to be an offensive show every given week, but I'm not so sure that someone won't get them along the way as well.
All right, let's move forward into this coming week. So I want to start in the Big 12. Kansas State goes to Colorado. Kansas State's a 4.5-point favorite in that game. Buffs are 2-0 in the Big 12. Who you like?
I got Colorado Twitter just all over my mentions here. Every single time we pick them or pick against them, they're throwing it up on the timeline and getting after us. So I think honestly, I could be convinced to take Colorado here with it being at home. Kansas State's secondary has had major issues. They almost got beat by Tulane because the quarterback over there went for almost 3.5 bills. They beat Oklahoma State by 20, and Alan Bowman went for 360. I think that Avery Johnson is just so dynamic. I think Kansas State is ultimately more complete. I have Kansas State winning. I think it's close, though. I think Colorado covers.
We shall see. Red River rivalry, SEC style. Texas and Oklahoma. The Sooners have not been good on offense, and Texas didn't really miss a beat with Arch in there for Quinn, but Quinn Ewers will be back in that one. Longhorns are a 15-point choice. What you think?
I don't know if I touch the spread here, Hunt. This spread just screams weird things happening. I mean, Oklahoma historically has actually had their way in this rivalry as of late. I'll take Texas. I think that I don't know if I think they cover, but I do think they win the football game. Ewers getting back. A little bit curious how he looks from a rush standpoint, because if there's a defense you want to have your first start back against, I don't think it's Oklahoma.
Do you think Texas is the best team in the country?
Right now, I'd say they're probably the most complete team in the country. I think Ohio State, seeing them against Iowa, it felt like we saw them rev the engine just a little bit. It is gross, the skill talent they have, and then how fast that defense is sideline to sideline. Like, I know we're probably going to touch on Ohio State, Oregon, but I think Ohio State after this weekend may have a case to be number one.
Well, let's do it now. What do you think about that game out in Eugene?
I think Ohio State wins. I think Ohio State covers. I've been massively high on Oregon, for the better part of the entire offseason. They gave you some, concern the first couple of games, but, I really can't get over the idea that I think they've saved a lot for this game. And I think we're going to see coming out of this one just how impactful Chip Kelly is. They're top 5 in the country right now in terms of yards per carry. I think they'll mix it up even more on the ground. And, again, the team speed of that defense. Oregon is so dynamic at getting the football out on the perimeter in the quick game and letting their guys just kind of work in space with Dylan Gabriel. I think the number they want to get the ball out is 2.5 seconds. They kept saying on that broadcast. I don't think they're able to have success doing that because you have multiple NFL players in the secondary for Ohio State. So I think Ohio State pounds the rock. I think Will Howard makes enough plays with his feet as well. And I think the Buckeyes not just win but cover in Eugene.
Penn State, we don't talk about them a lot. They've crept up to number 4 in the country, and I don't think anybody really believes in them because they don't usually win the games that are tough. Now, I don't know how tough this is because USC hasn't looked great the last couple of weeks, but they're headed out to the Coliseum. They're 5.5-point favorites flying all the way across the country. Do you think USC's got a chance in that one?
It's hilarious that you bring up that narrative in a sense. I'm in the Chipotle parking lot before lunch right now. And as I'm pulling up, I'm talking to a Penn State fan, and he says, "Man, we got to get that narrative. We have to win a big game here. We have to find a way to get that done." And I think that's exactly the talking point that we're all thinking around Penn State. And then I would take it a step further. I think Penn State's a bully in the Big Ten. Anytime you line up your offensive lineman at slot receiver and motion him in and just take the soul of a defensive lineman, that to me is bully kind of material. Go be the bully on the road against a West Coast team. I know the narrative over the course of the last year and a half to 2 years has been, Lincoln Riley's a soft West Coast outfit out there. Go be the bully. Go take what you perceive to be yours in the Coliseum. So I think Penn State wins. I think Penn State covers, and I think they do it behind a ferocious rushing attack.
All right, let's talk about the home game. Ole Miss comes to Baton Rouge. Rebels a 3.5-point favorite. Some injury concerns with Trey Harris that we're monitoring as well. So what do you think about Ole Miss and LSU Saturday night in Death Valley?
I'm a little bit nervous about LSU here. And Hunt, correct me where I'm wrong here. Get me to see the light. I'm a little bit nervous because of the South Carolina game and how that went. I'm a little bit nervous because of the UCLA game being tied at half. And all that's to say, LSU still found a way to win those football games. I'm not so sure that the Ole Miss loss to Kentucky doesn't kind of kick some smelling salts in their face and get them back right. I think it's close, but I do think Ole Miss finds a way to win on Saturday night.
Yeah, we were talking to the players yesterday, and all the defensive guys are saying the right things. They're talking about revenge and how they've got to be a lot better. And this is the litmus test. You brought in a whole new staff, and we're going to revamp this entire defense, and it's probably got to start with recruiting, but this is your first, huge test here at home. You held USC to 13 points halfway through the fourth quarter, and then you gave up 2 touchdown drives to lose the game, and the defense was not great the next 3 weeks. But we think they're making strides. This will be the deal. If they go out there and they hold them to 28 and they win the game 31-28, you can feel like LSU's got a chance to go make the playoff. If they give up 48 and they lose 48-24, then you're not even close. That's going to be we'll learn on Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, it really is going to be such a fascinating litmus test, like you mentioned, when it comes to LSU. Because, I mean, it's a playoff game. Like, for both sides, this is a playoff game. And I understand that 2 losses, you still have a chance to make the college football playoff if you're Ole Miss. But, like, I mean, if you go into Baton Rouge and you get your stuff just kicked in, like, that's probably going to be a pretty clear resume ruiner for the college football playoff. And like you said, if you're LSU, if you go beat Ole Miss in that sense, like, yeah, that's going to obviously do a lot in the eyes of what I would have to believe is going to be the committee and deciding that large bid.
We'll see. Should be a crazy environment in there. 6:30 on Saturday night on ABC. We'll be watching it. We'll talk to you next week, JD. Thanks, man.
You're the man. Go Tigers.
On Twitter at JD PicKell. You can find him on On3's YouTube channel with your college football content. Subscribe up and give him a look each and every day. We appreciate JD for giving us some time today on this Wednesday. We'll come back with some What If Wednesday next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Make LeBear's Baton Rouge your game day headquarters this season. They've got the biggest screens around, and now you can dine and bet at ESPN Bet inside LeBear's. I always tell you, download the Cover 5 app. I've got a league. You can enter with the code LABRSEC24. Again, that's LABRSEC24 when you download the Cover 5 app. Right now, I'm in 30th out of 112, but Week 7's coming up, and you can jump in right now and win weekly prizes. And if you're really, really good, you can catch up and win season-long prizes as well. There are 112 folks signed up, so jump in with LABRSEC24. Pick those 5 SEC games and have some fun with us each and every Wednesday. If you're not a member, get the Penn Play app today. LeBear's Baton Rouge, your live sports headquarters. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966 for help.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
I want to remind you to download the 104.5 ESPN app on your phone. I know most of you probably have that. But if you have your notifications disabled, go ahead and enable them. We'll promise you we're not going to spam you with LouisianaSports.net content. We just put breaking news on there. So when we get an injury update like Derek Carr yesterday, we post a story and the notification goes right out, and you can get that right to your smartphone. Again, it's not even close to twice a week. It's just whenever there's breaking news, we'll hit you with that push notification. And if you want that information, got LSU injury updates. We had Jakeem Stewart reclassifying if LSU gets a commitment, or there's something significant that we think you'd like to know about over at LouisianaSports.net. We'll hit you with that push notification on the 104.5 ESPN app. So if you've got the app, enable your notifications. If you don't have the app, download it and then enable your notifications. We'll get some sound from LSU football's defensive players coming up at the end of this hour, so in about 10 minutes from right now. But it's time for some What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question. What if?
All right, first one here. What if Trey Harris does not play for Ole Miss?
I mean, it's obviously a big deal. It just is. Like, I said this yesterday, and it doesn't become any less true today. I don't think I've ever seen an offense that is skewed so heavily towards one pass catcher like this Ole Miss one is. And I think it's a credit to Trey Harris, and it's a credit to Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss Jr. that everyone knows that's where Jackson Dart wants to throw it, and he's still rolling up obscene yardage totals. I mean, he could be looking at a, 1,800, 2,000 yard season at this pace. I mean, he missed a half against South Carolina, and he's still way up over 800 yards receiving in early October. So it's a big deal. I don't know that it's like they can't throw the ball without Trey Harris. They've got some guys that can run around, and LSU's secondary hasn't really proven that it can cover nickels, much less SEC guys that are on one of the better offenses in the conference. So I don't know how big a deal it is, but it feels significant, and it feels like it will take Ole Miss a little bit out of their comfort zone and their go-to deal. I mean, you've got to know that Lane Kiffin's got some plays, and that Jackson Dart certainly has some situations where he knows where Trey Harris is going to be and he wants to get him the ball. When you take that away as even a possibility, I think that does affect you. So I guess that'll be one of the storylines on Saturday if he doesn't play. Again, the folks in Oxford that cover the team feel like it's unlikely he's able to go anything resembling 100%. We're not going to know until Saturday because Lane Kiffin, to his core, despises the injury report thing. It's why he's made a complete farce out of it and has put half his team on the injury report to protest the fact that he has to do it. So we're not going to know. Like Sam Pittman's the opposite. He pretty much just tells you everything you need to know. It's kind of like Paul Maneri in that way. Kiffin's not going to do that, so we won't find out until Saturday, but it feels pretty big.
Yeah, I agree. Next one here. What if the Dodgers lose to the Padres today?
Then they're out, and they are right now in the same way the Braves were in the 90s, like a evidence of how hard it is to win the whole thing. The only World Series they have is the COVID year, which was a joke. And it counted then because we were just desperate to do anything that mattered, but that wasn't real life. That was playing a bunch of games in Texas in front of neutral crowds.
And it was a third of the
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the environment in San Diego last night and you want to compare that to playing at Globe Life in front of 15,000 people who drove in from Plano that don't care who wins, like, that's not nearly the same situation. But they're the best team in baseball, and they spend the most money every year, and they never win. And the Braves were the best team, and they never won. They won one time. And, like, so that's just one of the deals. Like, we're lucky here in Baton Rouge that most of the people that are listening here have been around for 6, 5 baseball championships, maybe 7, and then you've been around for 3 football championships. Like, that's incredible stuff that doesn't happen very often, and we may take it for granted at times, but I try to never to take for granted winning the whole thing, whether it was the Cubs in 16 or the baseball championships that I've been able to see or the football either. Like, it's so hard to climb that entire mountain at any level of what you're trying to do, and the Dodgers are a testament to that. If they can't beat the Padres today, that's another year that goes by where you've got Freddie Freeman in his prime, and you've got Mookie Betts in his prime, and you've got Ohtani in his prime. And obviously Kershaw's beyond that and was hurt this year, but they've got excellent arms as well. And they had Kenley Jansen forever that was such a great closer. And it's just hard to win. And I think that's important to sometimes step back and realize that it's a bear.
It is. All right, next one. What if Spencer Rattler lights it up for the next 2 weeks?
That'd be great.
It would be.
He's not going to keep the job if he does that.
No, I don't think so.
That's going to be Derek Carr's immediately when he's going to return. No matter who the backup is, he's just a placeholder. We're not going to see a Tom Brady, Nick Foles type situation here. I don't believe. The Saints are committed to Derek Carr. They believe in Derek Carr, and he's going to get that job back when he's physically able to play. But if Rattler does light it up the next 2 weeks, which is the point of this contest and conversation, the fans are going to go nuts. And if Rattler lights it up the next 2 weeks, and when they come back, they got to go to LA first. When they come back home and Carr throws 2 picks in the first half and they punt the third time, it's going to be hellacious in that place.
Absolutely.
So that's where this franchise is. The fan base is sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they want new life, and this is that door cracking open, as unlikely as it probably is. So we'll see.
All right, we got some from Twitter, and also the chat has a few here. But the first one is, what if Vandy makes it to Atlanta? Will Hunt rank them higher than 15th in his power rankings?
Okay. Vandy made it to Atlanta. They played Georgia State, and they lost. So they've already been to Atlanta. That'll be their only trip to Atlanta.
Okay.
They lost to Missouri, okay? And so we got power rankings coming up in 45 minutes. So we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But Vandy's already made their only trip of the year to Atlanta, and that'll be good enough.
All right, next one here from Nookie in the chat. What if the Palmers have more kids than the Hesters?
I mean, I'm going to have to move in with my parents at that point because we're going to have to sell the house. I can't. The dollars and cents don't work.
They don't work.
5 kids in my like that. All I have to do is take the one daycare expense that I have and multiply that by 5. We got real problems here. So one time, this is just completely off on a tangent here, but one time there was a member of the clergy in the Catholic Church who came up to me and talking about children. My wife was there, and he was like, "Yeah, I mean, you should just have a ton of kids."
That's Catholics, man.
And I'm going, man. If you want to pay for all the daycares and all that stuff that goes into it, have at it. I'm happy to have kids. I love having a kid. It's fantastic. But dollars and cents are real things. And when you have to multiply these by 5, it doesn't quite work. Hester works his butt off here and at SiriusXM. And he got a pretty good start out of school for working his butt out that I didn't quite get with the National Football League salary. And that's fantastic for Team Hester, and I love that whole family. It's great. Just a little bit different situation is all I'm saying.
A little bit.
We're not, I'll tell you, y'all can vouch for this. I was sitting in this chair when my wife went in for that first ultrasound. And I was just sitting here going, please, 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 only be 1 heartbeat. Please, not a second heartbeat. We're looking for 2, and we cut it off right there. And that's what we've got. We got 1 heartbeat, so that's good.
Good stuff.
That probably sounds morbid. There's probably people driving around going, you're a lunatic, but that's just real life, okay? Dollars are real things.
Yeah, I know. I know my dad, because I'm a twin brother. I have a twin brother. My dad found out that he was having twins. He fainted, so.
Yeah, I mean, look, my grandfather's a twin. My cousin on that side has twins. My mom's family has triplets. There was real concern, but we've passed that.
All right, last one here. What if Jaden Hill had not been injured essentially his entire LSU career? Does LSU win that Southern Miss series maybe?
The Southern Miss Regional?
Yeah. I don't know if one guy is going to change.
I mean, obviously you got deep into that regional with a chance to win it on the last day, but that was Jay's first year. I mean, Jaden was going to be draft eligible at that point anyway, so if he was healthy, he wouldn't have been around that year. So, no, that wouldn't have helped. He was really dynamic, and that's a great what could have been story. 1 with injuries, 2 with COVID. He just never really got to be a dude. The COVID year, he was coming out of the bullpen, and he was just unhittable. Over in that game against Texas in Minute Maid, he was just unhittable. So I don't think it would have changed LSU's outcome a ton, but it would have been nice to watch a little bit more of that. So that's it for What If Wednesday. We'll come back and listen to some LSU defensive players talk about Ole Miss. I don't think you're going to want to miss this sound. It's coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is the website. If you're a business owner and you have no idea what EPL insurance is, listen up. If you're a business owner and you have no real idea what cyber insurance does, you need to listen up. Do you need D&O insurance? Do you know? What are your umbrella limits supposed to be? If you don't know what any of that is and you own a business, I think it's really time to take a look and call the Highland Insurance Group, because I understand that a lot of business owners don't want to concern themselves with insurance. It's not a fun conversation to have. It's expensive to pay for, and you don't see any returns unless something really, really bad happens. But in the case of something really, really bad happens, it's really important. I've seen that firsthand working in insurance for 7 or 8 years. I know what those renewal meetings look like. I know what they sound like. I also know what a claim situation feels like. The fact that insurance can be your saving grace in time of need. The Howard Insurance Group wants to be part of your team to make sure that nothing derails the success you're having as a business. So give Jonathan Carbo and his team a call or check them out online at highlandig.com. Not only do they do property and casualty insurance, they will also handle your group and employee benefits. They're your one-stop shop right here in Baton Rouge, but really anywhere in South Louisiana or the state at large, they can help you out here at the Highland Insurance Group. It's highlandig.com online, highlandig.com.
It's an everyday thing here. We work horses in the mornings and we work on the property during the day, and without these John Deere tractors, it'd almost be impossible to keep up with the place. I've dealt with some of the other colors and stuff, and I never really got the response back that I get from John Deere, We really enjoy dealing with Sunshine. They're good people. They always check on us and make sure our equipment's running, and we love them. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has back-to-school savings like $16,000 off 25 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $16,000 off. All new Bayou vehicles come with a complimentary extended warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The best-kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so...
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Closing up hour number 1 here, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Got a chance to sit down with some LSU players yesterday. Greg Penn was there, Savion Jones was there, Mason Taylor was there, Garrett Nussmeier was there, and I've got a story up on LouisianaSports.net right now, speaking basically for the defense and their attitude going into this game with Ole Miss. We all remember last year. And so I asked Greg Penn, who's one of my favorite interviews on this team early on in my time covering them day to day, when he thinks about last year's Ole Miss game, like, what does he think about?
What do you think about when you think about last year's Ole Miss game?
I don't think about it much. I'm gonna lie to you, but I just think about how we did. I mean, as a defense, we didn't do what we were supposed to do to help the offense win that game. So, I mean, I don't really think about that game much, honestly, but hopefully we can go out there and get a win this time. We trying to lock in, like, we know what happened last year, but last year's last year. But at the same time, it's still in the back of our minds for sure. So just going out there and executing every play is definitely something we want to do.
So this game has stuck with the defense. Greg Penn said they didn't think about it a ton, but then came back and said it is still in the back of our minds. Savion Jones took a completely different approach here, and he used the word revenge 5 different times that I heard between the television media and the print media. And this was one of the questions we asked Savion Jones about, the quote-unquote revenge factor in this game with Ole Miss.
Yeah, I definitely feel that way, especially I'm sure all the fans know that we out for revenge and, what happened to us last year, how they stormed the field and stuff like that. So I feel like not only just the players, but like the fans are excited to have that rematch.
And that's a strong word to use is revenge, but it's one that they used multiple times. And you could tell these guys remember that feeling last year. I mean, when you give up 705 yards and 7 touchdowns, I mean, it has to stick with you. And I think for LSU fans, it's probably a little terrifying because it's the same quarterback and the same head coach and maybe the same wide receiver, and it's the same system, and you have a lot of the same guys out there on defense that were there for the worst performance we've ever seen LSU put out on a football field. And that's reasonable to be terrified of that. The sense I got from LSU, and they're young and they're confident football players, and that's the way a lot of them carry themselves, was that they're excited to change the narrative there. And that's their challenge. We'll know at the end of this game whether or not they've gotten better or they haven't. And then we'll have a reasonable expectation for the rest of the season. But I don't know if this comes through in the audio, and we'll see. I'm going to play it for you, and you can be the judge. But it 100% came through in person that Greg Penn physically cannot wait to get out on the football field. I asked him if he could tell that they had a bye week and they felt a little bit fresher, and that Ole Miss was clearly coming off a game 2 weeks in a row that have been very, very physical. And this was his answer about how ready he is to get out there and play against Ole Miss.
Yeah, I mean, I feel great. I feel like I'm ready to go, man. I was thinking, I'm just ready to play, man. The stuff I want to say, I can't really say, but I'm just ready to play.
I think that came through. He was sitting up in his chair when he started to say that, and he was like, I can't say, and you feel like, and I'm speculating here, but that's the point of a radio show. I feel like he's saying, like, we're going to get these guys. And I have no idea, sitting right now, if LSU can do it. I don't know if they can cover them. I don't know if they can get to Jackson Dart and force him some bad decisions. I don't know. I hope. I don't know. And Greg Penn doesn't either. But they've got a plan. They've been hearing about this for 2 weeks. They felt that pain last year in Oxford where they simply could not get a stop under any circumstance. And they want to be part of the group that fixes it. I don't think anybody that follows the program or on the outside believes this defense to be talented enough to go chase an SEC and national championship. If they do that, man, I will sit here and just be so glad I was dead wrong. But I don't feel like that's the case. But they can start moving things in the right direction. And you gave up 55 to these guys last year. That needs to be cut in half. Like that's what you have to do if you're going to start showing signs of improvement. And we'll see if they can do it. But it was an interesting energy with the defensive players yesterday. I mean, Greg Penn is always full of energy, and Savion Jones was like, "Yeah, we're gonna get these guys. We're gonna get some revenge. Like we understand the assignment here." And that's really the most fascinating piece to this entire game. I feel like I've got a pretty good grasp on how well LSU is going to move the ball offensively. I think it'll be well. I think they're going to score a lot of points. I can't rule out Ole Miss scoring 48 on this secondary, and I can't rule out LSU in that environment with that stadium behind it making some big plays and coming up big against this Ole Miss offense. I can't rule either one of them out. There are a lot of times where with LSU over the years, where you've known what it's going to look like. In the Les era, you knew they were going to run the ball. You knew they were going to play good defense. Did you know if they were going to win or lose? No, but you knew what it was going to look like. Last year, they were going to be in a shootout with everybody. It just is what you knew what it was going to look like, and maybe they had the ball last and won. Maybe they didn't. This one, I don't know. And I've got, I guess, 2 days to figure out what my pick is. But I can tell you these guys are confident in what they've been taught and confident in their abilities. We'll just have to see if they can make it pay off on Saturday night. We're going to step aside for SportsCenter, my power rankings in 30 minutes. Come back with us. Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. We are 8 minutes away from first pitch for a crucial Game 3 for the Guardians and Tigers in the ALDS, tied at a game apiece. Alex Cobb, Kader Montero. Yankees hoping tonight is the night. Slugger Aaron Judge finally gets going this postseason, heading into Game 3 of their ALDS versus the Royals tonight. The AL MVP frontrunner has struggled mightily. 1 for 7, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, a run scored, 0 RBI in 2 games. ESPN MLB analyst Tim Kirkjian.
He has chased balls out of the strike zone in this series, and that is something he hasn't done virtually at all the last 2 years. He also has been vulnerable to the changeup, and they have thrown him a bunch of changeups in this series.
Game 3, 6:30 Eastern, ESPN Radio. NFL, Texans standout receiver Nico Collins placed on injured reserve with a hamstring injury, so he's out at least the next 4 games for Houston. Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers told the Pat McAfee show today he had absolutely no role in the firing of Coach Robert Saleh.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Canty. Coming up Thursday, the Patriots have finally named Drake May their starter. I'll tell you what success looks like for May and the Pats going forward. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Half the work week officially in the rearview mirror. We are working towards the weekend now, and it's going to be a big one here in South Louisiana. Tigers and Rebels, 6:30 Saturday night in Death Valley, and the Saints in the division against Tampa at noon in the Superdome on Sunday. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN has a report that the Saints may be the favorite to land Devante Adams. We'll talk about that in 15 minutes from right now. My SEC Power Rankings for the week coming up in half an hour. I was only made aware today, and this is probably a miss on my part, quite frankly. I like sometimes there's just a lot of things going on, and I just miss something that comes up in the news feed, which is technically my job, so I probably shouldn't do that. But I missed this. That this week they're truly celebrating 100 years in Tiger Stadium. I knew it was a season-long thing because we've got a segment on it every single week on the pregame show. So I was very aware of that. But I was not aware that this was the game that everybody penciled in. And I've got a feeling, based on yesterday's player interviews, that Scott Rabelais is going to have something awesome in the Advocate coming up this week, because he was kind of talking about that with some of the players about, playing inside Tiger Stadium. And honestly, when you look at the soul of LSU football, a Saturday night in Death Valley with Ole Miss on the other sideline may resonate as well as with any opponent in any setting. I mean, yes, there's a ton of history and tradition with Alabama, ton of history and tradition with Auburn. Florida and LSU have had some classics. Tulane goes back a little bit further than all that. But Ole Miss and LSU were one of those original rivalries. And it's going to be a cool setting inside Tiger Stadium on Saturday night. And I kind of had the idea that I just wanted to kind of run through pretty quickly, because a lot of you will be on the same page as me, my favorite memories from inside Tiger Stadium personally. I've been at a lot of games over the last 18 years. I went to school at LSU for 5. I covered the team and went to every game for 3. I've been doing the pregame show now for 7 years. I haven't missed very many in the last 18 years. And then dating back into my childhood, I caught probably 2 a year. So I've been at a lot of the great moments inside Tiger Stadium. Unfortunately, I wasn't there. I guess that was 2 years ago for LSU and Alabama. I had a family wedding, so wasn't there for the overtime game. That's one of the few great all-time moments in LSU history I wasn't present for inside Tiger Stadium. But I've been there for a lot, and I still do remember. And it's weird to me when I think about it, because I don't really have any other really strong memories from that early on in my life. But I do remember the first LSU game I ever went to. It was October 30th, 1993. I was 5 years old. And LSU, ironically, for this week, was playing Ole Miss. And there was a blocked field goal at some point late in that game that allowed LSU to win the game. But I remember it was kind of chilly that night. I had a blanket on because I was a 5-year-old. And I sat on the west side of the stadium. And that was the first game I ever went to, and I don't really remember much else from being 5. I remember my K-5 classroom, but not a ton else. But I do remember being in Tiger Stadium for the first time. But it wasn't until 4 years later that I think the hook truly got set on me and kind of what my relationship was going to be like for LSU for the rest of my life. And that was in 1997 when I came down for the LSU Florida game with my parents. My dad played in a golf tournament every year, one football home weekend, and we usually came down for that weekend and got tickets to the game. And I had a soccer game that week, and my dad said, do you want to play in your soccer game or do you want to go to the LSU Florida game? We're probably going to get crushed, is what he said. Florida was number 1 in the country. Spurrier had eaten our lunch for the better portion of that decade. And he told, at the time, 9-year-old me, like, if you come to this, it might not be a lot of fun. And I said, I want to go. So we got tickets in the south end zone under that overhang, and every touchdown LSU scored. Donaldson's pick 6, Herb Tyler on the option, Tommy Banks up the gut. All the touchdowns were scored right in front of 9-year-old me. And I vividly remember running out of the stadium down the ramps that night, jumping up, trying to touch the cement overhangs, and was just completely hooked on Tiger Stadium and LSU football and everything that it was. And I think there's a moment like that for everyone who does it. For some, it's their first game as an LSU student because they'd never been before. For some, it's earlier than 9 years old because that's just part of what your family does. For some, it's later on in life when you finally get an opportunity to get in there in Tiger Stadium and you kind of experience it in its real, truest form for the first time. And that was my opportunity in 1997. I remember it very, very vividly. For the rest of my childhood, I played 1-on-0 football in the front yard as LSU against Florida. And it was Jaquez Green, it was Reedell Anthony, it was Jesse Palmer, and it was all those Doug Johnson, Spurrier. Like, I would call the games in my head, out loud, and play in the yard. It was always LSU in Florida because that was what my eyes saw for the first time. It really came to life. And that predated LSU arriving on the national scene. And when that started to happen, I was in my middle school years. And I remember being in 2001 so excited to go to the LSU-Auburn game, and then that Tuesday, 9/11 happens. And my dad having to sit me down and say, hey, stop worrying about going to the LSU-Auburn game on Saturday, and then it got postponed. There's some pretty other serious stuff that's going on. Maybe you ought to pay attention to that. But as an 8th grader, I was an idiot, and I was just disappointed that I couldn't go to the game that Saturday. But it turned out that obviously they put that game back on the back end of the schedule, and I went to that Auburn game, and that was when LSU won the West for the first time. And that was the first time I ever ran on the field. And I grabbed grass out of the end zone that was purple and gold and put it in my pocket and took it home and made my mom get it framed with this picture from some magazine that was How the West Was Won, is what it was called. And it sat in my room for, it's probably still up there, quite honestly. But that was the first time I'd been on the field. But that predates my favorite game, and I've told this story on the time many times. My favorite game in Tiger Stadium is not 97 Florida. It's not 2007 Florida, 2007 Auburn. It's not any Alabama game. My favorite game in the history of that stadium that I've ever been to is 2003 Georgia. Because I remember as a sophomore in high school thinking, like, man, game day's coming. Like, Georgia's really good. They won the SEC last year. Like, we might beat them. Like, this could be crazy. And at that point, I was old enough to kind of realize everything that was going on. And to be in that stadium for that game, as absolutely drenched in drama as it was start to finish, and to see the screen pass down the sideline that tied the score, and for the first time ever in Tiger Stadium for me, the other team scored and everyone started chanting LSU, 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 like, we're not going to let LSU lose today. This is our day to announce our presence on the national stage. We're not losing to Georgia. And, of course, Devery Henderson ran the kickoff down to midfield, and Mauk hit Skylar Green on a busted route. And I'm on the east side of the stadium, and just an absolute delirium that LSU would beat Georgia that day in front of a national stage with Game Day and Corso and Fowler and Herb Street, and the whole thing was just unbelievable to me as a sophomore. That's my favorite day on campus that I've ever had was in 2003. I was a student for 07. It doesn't really get a lot better than that. lived on campus with all my buddies, and you finish the games, and they were just unbelievable drama with Florida in 07 and Auburn winning on the second to last play of the game to Bird, and then being able to go to 30 of your friends with a band playing and mixing drinks, and like it just that's fantasy land is what that is being a sophomore at LSU and having the number one team in the country. And so the whole 2007 year sitting in the student section was just a dream. But that year also provided my saddest moment in Tiger Stadium, because even more so than 2012 Alabama, with all the revenge that was on the line that night, the loss to Arkansas in triple overtime, like I can't even imagine what Flynn and Hester felt like, and Dixon and all those guys that we work with now, because I sat in the student section for 15 minutes after that game went final and went, man, I'm a student at LSU. We had a chance to win a national championship. We were preseason number 1. I went to Starkville, Mississippi, and Lexington, Kentucky, and went to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and like I'm going to Atlanta next week, but the chance to win the national championship is gone because we couldn't tackle Derek McFadden and Peyton Hillis and Felix Jones for 4 hours. I also maintain that the loudest I've ever heard that stadium was that day against Arkansas, not in terms of like a celebration for a score. It was coming out of a timeout in overtime. LSU had a chance on 4th down to get a stop and win the game. And LSU busted a coverage and they hit it. But coming out of that timeout, the roar that stadium produced, understanding the national championship might be on the line here, was, I remember in the moment going, this is the loudest I've ever heard this place. It wasn't the USC announcement for the Florida game or any of the ridiculous late game touchdowns we've seen. It was that moment coming out of a timeout, Arkansas coming onto the field, and LSU fans realizing that this might be the chance to keep a national championship alive. And it didn't happen, but we all know how that story ended, and it was a happy one. And memory that nobody talks about a lot, but that I have vividly ingrained in my brain was the next year. Because I've never watched a football game that even close to resembled the 2008 Troy LSU game. LSU trailed that game 31-3 with 1:26 to go in the third quarter and won it by 2 scores. LSU outscored Troy 30-0 in the fourth quarter. And nobody cares because that team didn't accomplish anything of circumstance here, and you kind of forget that in a distant memory. But everyone had left. The stadium was empty. Everyone was doing the stupid angels in the outfield thing with their arms. It was surreal to be inside Tiger Stadium with what's probably 11,000 people doing the angels in the outfield arm motion, as it looked like, and those that have played video games will understand this reference, it looked like LSU had turned the video game difficulty from Heisman for 3 quarters to freshman. If you ever played NCAA football in freshman mode, you can just score a touchdown every 2 plays, and you can get an interception. You sack the quarterback, he never throws the ball. Nothing could go wrong for the last 16 minutes of that game. And you shouldn't be in that situation against Troy, but you were. And I was there for every play as a junior in college, and that is one of the most unbelievable memories I have inside that stadium. Certainly wasn't a big game, but it was a wild one. And then the last superlative I have for Tiger Stadium is 2012 Bama. I was covering the team at the time, and y'all understand what happened in 11. You win the game in Tuscaloosa, and you lose the national championship game in New Orleans. And the 12 season got off to a bumpy start. You went to Auburn and looked real clunky and found a way to win. You looked bad in Gainesville and couldn't win that game. Florida just kind of ran it down your throat, and it looked like that team wasn't going to quite figure it out offensively, and you thought they would with Mettenberger and Landry and Beckham, but they did figure it out in the second half of that Alabama game. And Mettenberger started slinging it, and Beckham and Landry started making catches, and Jeremy Hill was finding lanes, and Alabama was at the top of college football at that point, and you had a chance to unseat them and potentially move on and win the SEC and compete for a national championship. And they did everything but win that game. And I remember the pregame emotion feeling different than I had really experienced in that stadium, because there was so much revenge on the mind of LSU fans, and there was so much dislike for the other sideline, and the celebrities were all there, and that was SVP and Rosillo showing up and throwing all that praise on it. And that game actually like it created that Scott Van Pelt segment where he talks about just go once to Tiger Stadium. It's different than any place I've ever been. And that environment was unbelievable. And then I was on the field, literally, on the sideline, and TJ Yeldon caught that ball 15 yards from me and scored 12 yards from me, ran right past me into the end zone. And I can still hear, it's the worst sound. The worst sound is that dull roar from the south end zone from that small visitors section. And it was just deafening silence from everybody in purple and gold and that dull roar. And that sound is burned in my brain from that night. And you hear it every once in a while. And you may hear it some on Saturday. We'll see. But that one, that was emotionally a little different than any other because LSU had never played in that stadium against the team that had beaten it for a national championship and then had the game under control with 3 minutes to go and let it off the hook. So that's just kind of a run through my memory lane. Beck, you got one that stands out for you that maybe I didn't mention. I mentioned a lot of them. I didn't mention Tennessee in 2000. I didn't mention the Bama game 2 years ago. But that's kind of my immediate Rolodex.
Yeah, I'm obviously a little bit younger than you, so I'm not can't go quite as far back. I think the first LSU game I went to was it was LSU Florida, and I was probably in like elementary school. I don't remember what we lost. I'm pretty sure.
By 1,000.
I feel like it was raining as well. I don't remember. For some reason, I remember it raining. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was LSU Florida. Because
Rex Grossman threw it for a bajillion on us in 2001.
It wouldn't have been 01. It would have had to have been maybe 3 then, if that was the next time they
lost.
played.
Yeah, 3 that was the one game we lost. Skylar Green ran a punt back, and they called it back for a holding call.
Yeah.
And Chris Leak hit Seatric face-on, I want to say, over the middle for a touchdown pass. It was 19-7.
Yep, and then I remember that was my first game. And then for as far as you mentioned the Troy game, I was at the 2017 Auburn game. We were losing 20-0.
Yeah,
and the DJ Chark punt return, and that one was awesome. I was also there for the Troy loss, which was not great. Probably the worst game I've been to at Tiger Stadium.
I was there for that one too. I was doing pre and post game, and that's a difficult spot to be in on the network post game.
Yeah.
When you lose to Troy,
not great.
I mean, that's cards on the table. That is what it is. Because that's a tough spot. You're not supposed to lose to Troy.
Nope.
Which we said on the post game show, but there's probably more emotion on the Eagle 981 post game show than there was on the network post game show that night. Incidentally, I wore a shirt for the first time to that Florida game in 2003, and I loved the shirt. It was a new shirt, and we lost. I never wore it again. That wasn't going to happen.
No way.
All right. We got some Saints news coming up. Are they the front runners for Devante Adams? Jeremy Fowler from ESPN has his thoughts. I'll give those to you, as well as mine, coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. EvolvePT.com is the website. If you've got pain and you can't be your active self, Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports is where you need to be. It doesn't matter where the pain is. Knee pain, elbow pain, back pain, wrist pain. It doesn't matter how you got the pain. Car accident, injured playing sports, not really sure how the pain came about. They've got the technology and the want to get you back to being your active self. Doesn't matter if you're a youth athlete or somebody that's up there in age that's just trying to get back to working out, trying to get back to the golf course, pickleball court, trying to get back to the tennis courts. They can help you at Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. And it's going to be a hands-on experience from start to finish. Robbie Bolton and his team, they don't mess around. They're not going to hand you a piece of paper and say, here's some stretches we found might work. We'll see you next week. No, they're going to get you into that chair. They're going to get you into that exercise equipment right there on site. And they're going to make sure that you're progressing, getting back to being your active self. They can do the isokinetic testing to measure the strength that's returning to you. You also got the ability to do dry needling, cupping, scraping. All that can be done right there at Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. They can do soft tissue manipulation. EvolvePT.com is the website. They're on Starring near Highland Road. It's Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports, EvolvePT.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 9.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, hosted by the Goo Goo Dolls' #1 fan, Hunt Palmer.
All right, SEC Power Rankings coming up in just under 10 minutes. Buckle up. We'll see how that goes. Looking at a report from ESPN's Jeremy Fowler regarding Devante Adams. He writes, speaking of Adams, the Raiders have told at least one team involved in a potential trade they do not plan to front any of the bill on his $16.89 million salary. Perhaps negotiations change that, but it's been the perceived stance from Las Vegas that teams I've talked to believe the Saints might just be the favorite because they are on Adams' short list of preferred destinations and are willing to be aggressive. Yes, the Jets are involved, but the Raiders will probably go with the best package. And because Adams seems to prefer going to the Jets or Saints, the Raiders are going to start there, knowing they can expand the list if need be. As of now, those two teams appear to be in the driver's seat. To your point, Dan, I don't know who Dan is, but the Steelers have a desire to trade for Adams, hoping to address their receiver needs once and for all, but Adams is a factor in all this, and he seems ready to play with one of his former quarterbacks. So that basically in a nutshell says the Raiders aren't footing the bill. Whoever trades for him are going to have to pay him, and the Saints are willing to be aggressive and one of Adams' preferred targets. So that tells me, as we talked about right when this news broke, that the Saints have very little salary cap room, nowhere near the $16 million that's required to pay Devante Adams the rest of his salary. And if they do trade for him, they're going to have to start cooking the books. And we've tried to spend this entire offseason into this season to refrain from cooking the books. And if cooking the books, as I said initially, involves trading for Devante Adams, who's 30, and paying him over the next 3 years, and restructuring Alvin Kamara's deal to extrapolate that out over 2 or 3 more years, I am vehemently opposed to this decision. The Saints are not 2 30-plus-year-old playmakers away from being a serious contender in this league. And adding those 2 guys for multiple years at significant contracts is not getting you closer. The Saints have shown restraint this offseason in how they've handled their roster and their salary cap. And that is a soft reset. And we understand looking at this right now that things don't look all peachy. Your defense is getting a little bit older. Your offensive line and quarterback can't stay healthy. There are significant issues that are cropping up. And if the Saints do this, they're returning into this cycle of absurdity. They've got to find a way to refrain from this. And I realize it's enticing. And I realize Dennis Allen's probably beating the table saying, yeah, let's do it. Because if this thing falls off the rails and the Saints go 6-11, we all know what's happening. And if you add Devante Adams to your team, you're going to get a little bit better because you don't have a very good receiving core, and he's still pretty good. The last time he and Derek Carr were together 3 years ago, he was an all-pro. He would help. But how much does he help? Does he take you from 7-11 to 9-8? Is that the help? Because what are we doing at that point? We're making sure we go 9-8 and pay these two guys significant money for 2 more years so we can keep pedaling and going nowhere? Because the Saints are going nowhere right now. Their record looks the same every year. That's not progress. That's going nowhere. And I believe you harm yourself down the road by helping yourself in the very short term, and that is the opposite of what the Saints need to be doing. But Fowler's right in his reporting. Like, this is the Saints' MO. This feels like something they would do. And it sounds like Devante Adams wants to do it, and I'm sure Derek Carr wants to do it because his time's running short, and I'm sure Dennis Allen wants to do it because his time's running short. It's going to be up to Mickey Loomis to sit there and go, you know what? Probably not a great idea. Probably not a great idea. And he's done that for 10 months. But the 10 years before that, he didn't. So what should I trust? Should I trust the 10 years? Should I trust the 10 months? That's kind of where we are. And it doesn't feel like the Saints are in a hurry. Now they may be in less of a hurry because Derek Carr's out for 3 weeks. And if Devante Adams really only wants to come to play with Derek Carr and he's not going to play for the next 2 weeks, what's the rush? I realize you got a trade deadline that's upcoming, and that's going to be something you have to take into consideration. But to me, this is pretty simple. But it's just not the way the Saints have operated. So I agree with Jeremy Fowler's report that feels where the likely scenario unfolds. I'm hoping against it. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm not sure we can extrapolate to say that if Dennis Allen gets, if the Saints are 3 or 4 games under 500, miss the playoffs, Dennis Allen will be fired. But I wonder then, I know that Mickey Loomis has a good relationship with Benson, with Mrs. Benson, but however, I still wonder if she may want to just reset it, just bomb it, just reset everything. And so in that regard, I could see Loomis also having the same mindset as Dennis Allen and saying, we've got to do everything we possibly can do, even if it's going to jeopardize the franchise in the future, because if we don't win this year and make the playoffs, we're both out anyway.
I understand that, and in any other organization, I think you're right. But I believe that Mickey Loomis's relationship with the Bensons and the New Orleans Saints is different than every other general manager outside of Jerry Jones, which that's different too, because he's basically in the will. Like he's basically a pseudo owner of the team, and I just don't think that Gail Benson's going to make that move. Yeah. Like I don't think that there would be a lot of Saints fans that would be bummed out about it, but I just don't think that's happening. I think that they move on from Allen, and I think that they bring somebody else in, and I think that if they refrain from this Devante Adams thing, and then they deal with Dennis Allen, and they go through another off season where they tiptoe, which is fine with me, you'll realize that they've figured it out and they're doing things differently. Until we see that, though, it seems a little foolish to anticipate it. You anticipate what the track record says. The track record says we're going to go get him. I'm hoping against it because it feels like you'd be walking backwards if you do that. So we'll see. If there's any news that does break, we'll get it to you here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Also at LouisianaSports.net, because I just got a text message from Ross Jackson that he's got a Devante Adams story ready to be filed. It's not breaking news, so don't feel like it's that. He's just breaking down and reacting to some of these reports. So if you want to read more about the Saints and Devante Adams, you can do so pretty quickly here on LouisianaSports.net. All right, it's that time. We'll take a time out. We will come back. We will do SEC Power Rankings next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Neil and Melissa have been running Boudreaux's Electrical for 40 years. Every single Generac home standby generator you get from Boudreaux's Electrical Services comes with a 7 to 10-year warranty. Peace of mind, man. That's what you're looking for here from the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical. You know that when these storms come, and there's a nasty one out there right now in Milton, that you don't have to worry about losing power. Whether it's just one of those Cat 1s you might want to ride out and you want to make sure that the power doesn't go out when you're riding it out, or something like these like Milton and you're going to get out of town, you don't want to come back to a house that's not had power in 3 days, that has a ruined refrigerator and freezer that's 97 degrees. Like, that's no good either. Get that Boudreaux's Electrical generator put in, you come home to a cooled off house, it's got the television working, fridge has been up and running the whole time, and you're like you never left. That's what you can have offered to you from the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical. Give them a call, 985-397-1562. Again, it's 985-397-1562. Or at their New Gonzales location, 225-300-9389, 225-300-9389. Or do it the easy way. You can go online to boudreauxelectrical.com. It's Boudreaux's Electrical Services, a premier Generac generator dealer. You can check them at boudreauxelectrical.com.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Congratulations to Mark Mancuso from Bell Chase. Mark is the Week 6 winner in our 2024 college football pick'em contest and wins a Hooters wing party for 10 people. Don't forget to make your picks for round 7 by tomorrow, Thursday at noon. Weekly winners will receive a Hooters wing party for 10 people, and the first place season-long champion will receive a 75-inch 4K flat-screen TV and soundbar, plus free Hooters wings for an entire year. It's the 2024 College Football Pick'em presented by Hooters.
All right. I dreaded this all morning. Got it done right about 11 o'clock. Beck, how's your confidence level in my ability to nail these power rankings?
Not very high.
Not very high, he says. I got to be honest, I don't think my confidence is very high. My confidence had never been higher last week. I was barely moving teams here or there. I basically had it licked. And then we had to watch that last weekend. And it's just a tough scene. So let's get it cranked up.
Hunt's SEC Power Rankings.
All right, give me 1 second because I got to change to a different tab.
Get to that different tab.
And I'm ready.
Let's do it.
The Texas Longhorns.
Texas is number 1 right now. Arch played great when they needed him. Now Ewers is back for Oklahoma. I don't really know a huge weakness for Texas. I don't know a huge weakness for a couple of other teams, but right now Texas looks like the most complete team. We'll go with them at number 1. Number 2.
The Georgia Bulldogs.
I moved Georgia up from 2 to 3. Obviously, you'll understand why here in a second. Maybe that was just a bad 30 minutes of football in Tuscaloosa. They played great in the second half. Didn't quite get it done defensively when they had to, but I still think they're pretty good. They overwhelmed Auburn. I moved them back up to number 2 this week, and we'll see who's number 3.
The Alabama Crimson Tide.
You would think they might dip lower losing to Vanderbilt, but I think Alabama's really good. I think they played like garbage on Saturday, and I think their defense stunk. And the defense is a concern. You give up 67 points in the last 6 quarters to Georgia and Vanderbilt. That is absolutely a problem, but they've got a lot of really good players. Milroe is a good quarterback. They got freak shows at wide receiver. We know that. I'm not ready to call this a great Alabama defense, and that gives me a lot of confidence moving forward. Hopefully they'll lose again. I would like that. But they're still good, so I got them just falling 1 spot back to number 3 this week. Number 4.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
I didn't move Tennessee. Maybe this is a mistake. I still think they're pretty good. I think they played horrendously at Arkansas, but they did have a lead in the second half. They just coughed it up. Here's the deal. Nico is 10th in the SEC in passing yards per game. He's 10th in touchdowns. If you look at his performances against Oklahoma and Arkansas, 30 of 50 for 60%. Only 344 yards. That's 122 a game. And looking at 150, 1 touchdown, like, he hasn't played great. We thought he was the next Hendon Hooker. He looks like the next Joe Milton right now. Defense is still good. They held Arkansas down, but the offense needs to keep things rolling. I still think Tennessee's good, but I'm worried about Tennessee more than I was last week.
The Ole Miss Rebels.
I've got Ole Miss at number 5. Maybe I could have moved them above Tennessee, but that loss to Kentucky was at home. They did a good job on this gut check week. You lose a game at home, you go on the road, South Carolina, worrying about their pass rush. I just need to see about that defense because I don't think they've played anybody with a good offense yet. Kentucky's offense is not good. South Carolina's offense is not good. LSU's offense is good. That's when we'll learn about this Ole Miss defense on Saturday night in Death Valley. For right now, I've got them at number 5.
The LSU Tigers.
I've got LSU at 6. That means Saturday night's a pretty big showdown between number 5 and number 6 in these rankings. The defense gets its chance on Saturday, just like with Ole Miss, to prove a point. I talked about it in the first hour. They give up 48. Well, same old, same old. They give up 24. LSU wins the game. Now we can start having a different conversation about where this football program is moving forward. But that's what we learned on Saturday night. LSU right now is at number 6.
Texas A&M!
The Aggies move into the top 7. They're up 1 spot. They're 3-0 in league play, and they play Mississippi State next. That means they'll be 4-0. Wigman looked good, but he's also looked bad at times. So we'll see. Coming off that injury, he's the starting quarterback. We'll see what that looks like. Their defense held Missouri to 254 yards. Mike Elko is a really good defensive coach. So that, I think, is going to be the hallmark of this A&M team. If the offense runs the ball and Wigman's that efficient, they'll be really good. They'll be really good. They could potentially make a playoff run. I've got them up at number 7 right now. Number 8.
The Oklahoma Sooners.
The Sooners have not been impressive to this point. Oklahoma and LSU are the teams this week playing elite level offenses that you could see taking a backslide if things go south. Oklahoma's playing Texas this week. Look, if you don't find some offense against Texas, you're going to get run off the field because Texas is going to score Currently, right now, Oklahoma is number 16 in the SEC in rushing offense and passing offense. That has got to change, or else they're going to be in for a free fall here. But I've got them at 8 right now. Number 9.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
Hogs move up 3 spots from 12 to 9 this week. Sam Pittman said today that he's hoping Taylon Green comes back for LSU. He got hurt in that Tennessee game. They're off this week. Their defense has been good. Held Auburn to 14, held A&M to 17, held Tennessee to 14. That's quality football by the Hogs on the defensive side. The offense is a little schizophrenic. The defense has been rock solid, so Arkansas moves up to number 9 this week.
The Vanderbilt Commodores.
Yes!
Wow, number 10. The Doors?
We made it. Anchor down.
That's in the top 10. I did not see this coming, but what am I supposed to do? Diego Pavia, he's running all over the place, 63 yards per game. He hasn't thrown an interception yet. They're running triple option concepts back there, running it down Bama's throats. They should have beat Virginia Tech. They should have beat Missouri. They're not good, but they're not 16 anymore. That's a far cry from 16. Vanderbilt is at 10. The chat rejoices. Let's move on. Number 11.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
Vandy's coming to Lexington this week. Right now, the South Carolina game does look like an outlier for Kentucky, though. That was just an awful effort. It was so bad, though, that I can't get it out of my brain. That's why I've got them back at 11. We'll see. Could be some flip-flopping there with Vandy and Kentucky, but got Kentucky at number 11 right now, back a spot.
The Missouri Tigers.
Frauds. Absolute frauds. Got them down 5 spots this week. They play at UMass this week, which is an embarrassment in its own right. Why are you at UMass? Never play at UMass. Frauds, Missouri, number 13.
The South Carolina Gamecocks.
South Carolina's not very good. They have 0 passing offense. They're number 14th in the SEC in passing. Their next 3 games at Bama, at Oklahoma, and Texas A&M. Plus, moving forward, at Vanderbilt's no longer a layup. Clemson looks way better than they did. South Carolina's outlook's a little bit bleak right now, I'll be quite honest with you. That doesn't make me feel great about LSU, quite frankly. But that's what we feel about South Carolina now at 13.
The Florida Gators.
Gators finding a bit of a groove with the 2 quarterbacks. But look, you beat Central Florida at home. I'm not going to throw a party for you. You're still at number 14. They're moving in the right direction, though. We'll see. They're about to get to that Lions part of the schedule. However, Missouri and Florida State don't look very good, and we thought those 2 were losses moving forward. Billy Napier could be getting things together, but they got to go to Knoxville this week.
The Auburn Tigers.
0-3 in the SEC. The next 2 are on the road at Missouri and Kentucky. They have 0 identity. I just don't know what Auburn is at all. I don't know what they're good at. They're not really awful at anything specifically except turning the ball over, but they're just not good. So they're number 15 right now. Last
the
one.
Mississippi State Bulldogs.
Coach Levy, hope you enjoyed the bye week. I hope you recruited a lot because the team that you've got right now is not good enough to win, and you lost your starting quarterback, so you're going to be in this spot probably the rest of the way. Vanderbilt's no threat to come take it from you at this point. So the Dogs are likely locked in at the number 16 spot. That's my SEC Power Rankings for the week. Beck, how do we do?
Well, I think they're pretty good. I will say that I don't know, man. It's the thing is it's hard for Vanderbilt. It's hard for you to have got them any higher than 10 because you already had them so low in the first place.
Yes.
But I will say though, it's a bit shocking to have Tennessee so high after and Alabama so high after that loss. I mean,
somebody's got to be 3 and 4.
I get it, but
Ole Miss lost to Kentucky last week. Am I supposed to just sock that one away?
No. I
LSU
understand.
is in a dogfight with South Carolina. I can't stop anybody.
It's hard, but it's going to be interesting. Yeah,
I mean, I could put A&M third. They almost got shut out by Notre Dame.
Yeah. I was gonna say maybe A&M should deserve. They should maybe move up a little bit more, just because that was an absolutely dominating win. It was at home, but it was still a dominant win over a Missouri team that was ranked in what are they 10th or 11th?
Missouri is in the country. They're ranked in the top 10.
Yeah, so that's a really massive win for them. I could have seen them going up maybe a few more spots. Of course, I
choose to believe Missouri is an absolute.
Yeah, maybe they're just really not bad. I would have had Vanderbilt probably at 8.
I mean, I could be convinced that Vanderbilt's better than Arkansas. I could honestly, I mean, I wouldn't have to work that hard to think that Vanderbilt's better than Oklahoma.
But Arkansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas,
Vanderbilt
Vandy are tough.
certainly has a better quarterback than Oklahoma.
But I think Arkansas, getting that win over Tennessee was a lot of people had Tennessee being maybe in the playoff, and maybe they still could be, but still that's a massive win. So
it is. I mean, that's a great win for Sam Pittman, and they played well at Oklahoma State and gagged it away. I mean, just absolute choke, muffin punts, going for ridiculous 4th downs. Like that was a choke. And that's the deal. Like LSU's schedule, you still got Ole Miss, you still got Alabama, you still got Arkansas, who looks scrappy up in Fayetteville. Vanderbilt now doesn't even look like the layup it once was. Oklahoma probably doesn't look as good as they once did, and obviously Bama's coming in here. Like, it's just a lot. But
it is.
You can take a step in the right direction on Saturday night. We'll see.
Very well.
There's your SEC Power Rankings on this Wednesday. We'll come back, play some Take It or Leave It, and get on down the road. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com is the website. You can check them out on Instagram as well at AVSS_BR. We're starting to spend a lot more time in the backyard now as the temperatures have cooled off a little bit. Myers Man's hitting baseballs all over the place. I like being out there now. And it's even better because we can crank up some tunes or a podcast while we're out there in the backyard. As the weather cools off, you're going to spend some more time outside, whether you got a backyard, pool area, got an outdoor seating area, and you want to have surround sound out there, and you want to be able to control it at the touch of a button with an app. Audio Video Security Solutions can hook you up with all of that. If you're thinking, man, I don't even know where to start. Well, I didn't either, but Mitchell Fisher handled the whole thing. They installed it in less than a day, and the customer service since then has been fantastic. All of it is controlled right there at the touch of a button on an app, and we have absolutely loved it at the Palmer House. Get that process started. Call Mitchell Fisher on his cell phone, 225-439-7920. Again, that's 225-439-7920. It's audio, it's video, it's security. It's all at one place. Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and Shell are excited to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Tiger Stadium with our Draw to 100 sweepstakes. We're giving you the opportunity to join in the VIP-style celebrations on October 12th for the Ole Miss game. Sign up today at 1045ESPN.com. We'll live stream the drawing on October 10th. That is tomorrow. And the 100th name drawn will win a Stadium Club seats, sideline passes, and autographed memorabilia. It's the Draw to 100 sweepstakes presented by Shell, the rhythm of Louisiana.
All right, closing up shop here on a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Fired up for tomorrow's show. Luke Johnson talking Saints. We'll have Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, on. We'll go up to Oxford to check in on the Ole Miss Rebels as well. We'll start to prepare for that game in earnest, talk about some matchups in that game coming up on tomorrow's show. Only one more order of business to go on today's show. That, of course, is Take It or Leave It.
All righty, first one here. The Detroit Tigers currently up 1-0 on the Guardians. A couple of guys on base. That series is tied right now. The Tigers have the 26th highest payroll in MLB. That is $98 million. They are under the $100 million threshold. The 26th highest payroll going to the ALCS. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I think it's awesome.
I'll take it.
I wish the Cubs would function that well. With
Unfortunately, the Cubs had
payroll.
the 7th highest paid payroll. They were the highest payroll to not make the playoffs.
Awesome.
So, really good stuff.
That makes me super happy.
Yes.
Great,
Yep.
grand, wonderful. No yelling on the bus.
No. All right, next one real quick. Aaron Rodgers, as I mentioning on SportsCenter earlier, was on the Pat McAfee show and resents talk that he had any hand in Robert Saleh's exit. You believe him. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. It's just like those sideline interactions are impossible to deny.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason to do that. I get it, but like Aaron Rodgers is always going to be the smartest guy in the room and always going to be right, and he's not going to fake for anybody, and it's just a bad look. And so we'll see if that organization can recover. But it's a bad look.
Yeah, definitely. Last one here. LSU coach Jay Johnson had some media availability today and announced that right-handed pitcher Devin Sheeran tore his ACL and will miss the season. Huge blow. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it as a huge blow. It could have been. For those not familiar, Sheeran was a right-handed pitcher that they got from Mount St. Mary's. His big kid, 6'5", 250, threw really well against Mississippi State last year in an early season game. Big fastball, good breaking ball. They brought in a lot of guys like that, and it's a bummer for sure, but it's just part of it with baseball. Like, you're going to have one or two guys who miss the season from the pitching perspective every year, and it's unfortunate that he tore his ACL like right after they signed him. And you'd like to have all the arms you possibly can, but LSU's got a bevy of pitchers. They'll start fall camp with scrimmages tomorrow at 4 o'clock. They'll have another one on Friday at 4, and then again on Sunday at 1. If you would like to see an LSU baseball season preview, if that's something, or not a season preview, that's incorrect. A fall baseball primer is what it is, honestly. I've got it up at LouisianaSports.net right now. I've gotten some good feedback on that on Twitter. So I had some conversations with some people inside the program about some of the guys they've seen. They're excited about what they're looking for. Talked about the catcher position. Talked about the starting rotation. There are two guys in Chase Shores and Kate Anderson that they really feel like they could be weekend rotation guys right now for them. But it's going to be a really, really, really competitive fall. Catcher, third base, even on the middle infield at times, and then in the outfield, it's just a free-for-all. So I'm excited to go out there and watch a little bit of fall baseball, and Jay Johnson said today in his media availability it's going to be fiercely competitive. So if you want to read some of that, LouisianaSports.net, it is up there under the LSU tab right about now. So that'll do it for us here on a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We covered a lot today. Derek Carr out for a couple of weeks. Now what? Is it Rattler? Is it Haener? I gave my thoughts on that at the top of the show. You can certainly find that on YouTube at Hunt on Saints. JD PicKell talking national college football. We touched a little on Colorado. What does it mean for Alabama's defense? And who does he like in LSU and Ole Miss? JD was not super high on the Tigers' chances this weekend. You can go check that out on demand as well. It's a What If Wednesday. What if Trey Harris doesn't play? What if Spencer Rattler lights it up over the next 2 weeks? Those are what ifs that we explored in the first hour. And LSU's defense, they're thinking revenge this week. Maybe they can make that stand up. Maybe they can't, but that's the way they're thinking. And I had some sound that we played at the end of the first hour, and there's also a story up at LouisianaSports.net that talks about what Greg Penn and Savion Jones have been thinking this week as they move forward. I've got matchups to watch for LSU and Ole Miss on LouisianaSports.net as well. Opened up the second hour, just kind of going through memory lane. I went through my favorite Tiger Stadium experiences since my first time in Tiger Stadium, which was back in 1994. So if you want to go jog down memory lane with me, you can go check that out on demand. Are the Saints the favorite for Devante Adams? Jeremy Fowler from ESPN thinks so. I told you why I don't think that's a great idea. And then SEC football power rankings. If you're looking for your Saints content, you can always find it at Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Looking for your LSU football content, you can find it at Hunt on LSU. And always, you can find our full shows archived each and every day. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube. Wherever you find your sound, you can always find us. Just search The Hunt Palmer Show. Like, subscribe, rate, and review. We certainly do appreciate it. Fired up for tomorrow's show. We got to start getting you ready for LSU and Ole Miss. Got to get you ready for the Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're getting close to the weekend. Football time's coming. I can feel it. I'm excited to get into the studio tomorrow for the show, but we'll wait 22 hours to do that. Matt's about to drive you home on After Further View coming up next. Have a wonderful Wednesday. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place on The Hunt Palmer Show.